Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to see all of you on this snowy day here in Jamaica Plain, where I am seeing the world. It has been snowing lightly all morning. We have a jam-packed agenda for you, and we're just delighted that so many of you could be with us today. My name is Julie Crockford. I'm the president of Empower Success Corps. I have been with the organization for 5 years. And prior to coming to ESC, I was the president of the Emerald Necklace Conservancy, and we were a client of Empower Success Corps, then called Executive Service Corps of New England. But ESC are the initials that have always stood us well. As a famous consultant who joined us many, many years ago, who used to be the head of marketing worldwide, vice president of worldwide marketing for GE, said, if you have any brand equity in your initials or your logo, keep it. So we've never walked away from the ESC initials. As I said, we have a very busy program for you this morning. ESC's mission, as I hope all of you know, is to help other nonprofits and public agencies be successful at serving their audiences, their communities. And one of the programs that we have been that's been very active for us the last several years is our nonprofit executive roundtable, where the heads of organizations come together and discuss in a peer sharing model the challenges and concerns they have in real time. As you might imagine, last year, we heard a lot about people's original plans for their fundraiser and then how those plans evolved as they figured out how they would do a fundraiser and not do it in person. So that gave us the idea that other people might like to hear from those folks because they learned a lot. They've got to think about what they do this year. COVID does not seem to be gone. And so we have brought this panel together to share with all of you what they learned, what they would do the same, what they would do differently. And we're going to open it up to questions. In fact, we want you to ask questions in chat at any time. And we're going to ask you kind of what your experience has been with events in this past year. We do have some rules of the road for how we want to interact in the environment that we're in, this virtual environment. Here is our agenda, but here are the rules. Shared mic. We'll have a formal Q&A session at the end of our presentations, but please go ahead and use chat all during the program. You can also raise your hand in the with that official symbol that we've all come to know. You can also clap for people in the reactions format. I'm adding something that the staff doesn't even know about, and that is that we're going to have a raffle prize at the end. So we're going to pick a name and we're going to raffle off candy because I think people need chocolate. So we're going to send you a couple of Theo bars. That's my favorite chocolate. If you happen to be allergic to chocolate and you're the winner, you can let me know what you'd rather have. So our goals for today are for these presenters to share with you what worked for them, what they had originally planned, and what their event evolved into, and then what they're thinking about for next year we'll get to in kind of a round 2 conversation. It's also to have you have the opportunity to share what you did this past year, either in the chat or in a live session after the presenters. We've also asked the presenters to name some of the resources they used, if they used production companies, mail houses, video production, different platforms for fundraising than they had used before. What were those? Mail house wasn't a good example. And so you're going to get that list of resources, and we're going to ask you to also contribute to that list of resources when we send out the survey post the workshop. So any questions at this moment? Hearing none, I'd like to briefly review that we have 4 presenters with us today. We have Tara Leahy from the Worcester Art Museum, Nikki Schultz of Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly, Betsy Kelder, Invest in Girls, and Dawn Hayes, Dove, Domestic Violence Ended. We're going to start this morning with Tara, and Tara is going to tell us what they had originally planned and how it evolved. Take it away, Tara.
Hello, welcome everyone. As you haven't Julie introduced, my name is Tara Leahy. I am the membership manager at the Worcester Art Museum, and along with the Worcester Art Museum's membership program that I do run, I also have run our gala, which is typically based with our volunteer committee, and I am the staff liaison that typically runs the event. The Worcester Art Museum, our mission is to connect people, communities, and cultures through the experience of art. And at the beginning, pre-COVID, our plan was to host our annual gala, which is the largest fundraising event that we have throughout the year. And it's typically inspired by an upcoming exhibition. Our upcoming exhibition was a kimono couture type event, which everything was coming from Japan. So we also needed to stop that exhibition, and it's actually now coming to the museum. But at the time of planning, as you all know, planning a gala is a year out. So at the time, this was our logo. We were trying to go for a couture type event. And it consisted of a cocktail party, a catered dinner at the museum, a live auction, along with the Raise the Paddle. And with our Raise the Paddle, we always had a video produced by Pagano Media, who's located here in Worcester. And we tried to have it to be an inspiring video. This particular year, we had Jared Krasowska, who is a child illustrator. He has book series. One is called The Lunch Lady, and he's from Worcester, and he has quite an inspiring story about how the museum was there for him as a child growing up in a not so stable home life. And he was going to be our live speaker along with the video. And then we had dancing, and our goal typically is about 175,000. And now, as you'll see on the next slide, we quickly had to switch gears. Our event was in June, and throughout, once we closed March 13th, the museum closed, and we waited about a month to decide what would be the best thing to do. I went to lots of different types of events like this that we're holding right now, finding out, what was the best way to do a virtual event? Should we do a virtual gala? And then we decided to completely switch gears to not do a gala virtually, but to come up with more of a campaign to do online. We called it a give-a-thon. It kind of resembles those of colleges. If any of your colleges that you've attended, they do the day of giving. So that was more of the mindset that we had to do this event. We needed to switch gears from our original theme and decided we wanted something that was going to appeal to everyone, considering we were going to be able to reach, a larger audience. But before we even did that, we obviously needed to contact all our ticket holders, our sponsors who had already given us their donations and their sponsorship levels. And thankfully, everyone stuck with us and said, absolutely, we're here to, support the museum, and we will continue in whatever fashion it would be. And because this was a day of giving, we needed to come up with programming for the day. And then we also wanted to have some sort of event. So we scheduled programming. There were cocktail parties with a curator for our basic level donors. And we created a high level donor cocktail party with the director and a guest speaker, which we had at a level of 2,500 or more. Next slide, please. Our support art for all actually wasn't our first theme. We had more of a celebration type theme, but what we've learned during COVID is everything is extremely fluid. Our first actual theme was a celebration, and we had a postcard. We had everything up, ready to go out, and literally the day we were going to send our postcards out, the George Floyd incident took place. And we decided it was absolutely not the time to have any sort of event that was celebration. And yet again, we needed to switch gears. What we did learn during all of this was the less that you actually have produced that's not digitally, the best, because we lost all of our resources. You know, the postcards were ready to go, production had been made. So with us doing the same type of event this year, we have learned to go digitally because you just never know what's going to happen. With this Give-a-thon, we investigated different fundraising platforms. We decided on one cause. It happened to have everything that we were looking for. We were able to have videos that we were sharing throughout the day, also living on our site that we used. We had our testimonials that we shared on social media, as well as on our One Cause site. And we took over our website, our WAM website. The homepage was, we did a whole takeover of the website. And the other reason we liked One Cause was for the donor wall that tends to get other people to donate when they see their friends or neighbors or colleagues who, you know, have supported this type of event. So it was a live updated donor wall. And we used social media throughout the day. We had matches throughout the day. We had a Facebook Live presentation. We just wanted to find a way that we could engage with all of our donors and supporters where we were virtually. And it seemed to work. We raised over $212,000, which beat our goal of the gala. And we were able to reach a much larger audience. We had donors that went as far as Texas and Virginia. And typically our gala, you know, attendees are more local. So there was definitely a positive, but it was a lot of work to switch gears, but we have learned that that's just how we have to roll these days. So we were thankful to the supporters, and because it was so successful and we're still living in a non-type in-person virtual is the way to go. So we have decided to do the same this year. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Tara. That was terrific. I'm now pleased to introduce, if there are no questions immediately for Tara, let me move right away to our next speaker. We're very excited to be welcoming Nikki Schultz, the Executive Director of Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly. Nikki.
Hey, thank you, Julie. First of all, I'm humbled to be here with such strong, powerful leaders on this panel and with all of you here today. So thanks for having me. As Julie said, my name is Nikki Schultz. I'm the Executive Director of Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly. Our mission is, in short, is to relieve isolation and loneliness among the elderly, which, as you can imagine, we've had quite the year. We're a small organization. Our budget is roughly $500,000 and we have 4 full-time staffers. And in 2019, we brought back our annual gala. So we were just starting to get it kicked off before we had to pivot again. But what it had been was Friends on the Harbor, and it began in 2019 because that was our 40th anniversary. And we thought it was time to start celebrating ourselves again. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in 2019, our gala was held at the Hyatt Harborside in Boston. There were 125 attendees, and we were going to aim for growth and to have 200 last year. And it was just a typical gala. There was live music, dinner, dancing. We had a keynote speakers. We had some program participants who came in and spoke about their experience with LBFE. We gave a volunteer award. I spoke. My board chair spoke. It was, everything you expect it to be. In 2019, we had several different avenues that we raised money. Our goal was $40,000 for 40 years, so we exceeded our goal in 2019. And that was, as you can see, through sponsors, ticket sales. We had an ad book, which didn't really go very well. Just donations for people that couldn't come to the event. We had a raffle, and then the biggest line item was a fund in need. So instead of having an auction items, we said for $500 you can fund X, and people would raise their hands, and that was the majority of our funds for 2019. Slide, please. So in 2020, we were planning to have, a very similar thing. People loved the band that we had. They were actually retired musicians that got together and did a band, and they only charged a small amount, and what they charged went to a charity. So they were so on brand for us. We had them coming back. People were excited. Of course, the world changed, and in April, we decided to move to virtual. Fortunately, we had a September event, so we got to, kind of see what everyone else was doing and what was going well and not going well for our colleagues in the nonprofit world. So we had the benefit of learning from other folks as well. And so the first thing I did was, think about myself. What online content was I enjoying at the time? And of course, I was really into John Krasinski's Some Good News. And I was like, my husband would see me at my kitchen table, just like, it's just so beautiful, like things are so good. So I wanted to do that. I wanted people to feel the way I felt about SGN while watching our event. So rather than doing a live event, which I had unfortunately seen not go so well for some people, and I have online like live panic, so I didn't want to do that anyway. I didn't think I would come across very well. So instead, we did a campaign instead of an event, and we did a mini series. So we had 5 episodes of Friends on the Harbor, and they were all 15 to, I think the longest one was 22 minutes. And they would release every Wednesday at the same time. So we would have a lot of social media and reminders, like don't tune in next Wednesday at 7 o'clock for the next episode. And we released them on YouTube in premiere mode. So like it would do the countdown. So it'd be kind of exciting when you watched it live. Honestly, not many people watched it live with us. Like I would try to force a chat, but like no one would respond to me. But we got a lot of views over the week. So people watched it, but the live thing was, not many people tuned in while it happened, but it was fun anyway. Can we go back one? And each episode we had a standard formula, so people knew what they were going to be watching and knew what was coming. So there was myself and the MC that we would have had for our event. We were the co-hosts, so we'd have some banter back and forth. We'd invite a guest speaker. Then we talk a little bit more about the theme of the episode. We'd have video from one of our programs. So every episode you'd hear from the older adults benefiting from our work. Then, it would be kind of like the telethon, be like, oh, go online now to this website, help us out. This amount of money will help us do X, Y, Z. And then there's a musical performance at the end of each episode. So you knew what you were getting. All the episodes were very similar in format. Next slide, please, Nadella. Thank you. And so the key decisions that we made is that we wouldn't sell tickets. Everything would be free for all to watch. We want them to be accessible. And we just wanted to get as many eyes on it as possible. If there wasn't going to be the big gala, there was no like big dinner price. There's no reason to charge people to see it, I felt. And we needed 5 speakers and 5 musical performers for each episode. And so that was like the biggest ask. So our board was really helpful with that, actually soliciting videos from their network. And, they all said that's an easier ask than inviting someone to come to an event. So we actually had a lot of board participation there. We also needed to create a landing page on our website, which there's a link here. So when you get the slides, you can go to the link or just littlebrothersboston.org. And then it really explained what it was, because people didn't like, what does she mean by episodes? What is this mini series? So it explained what it was, what all the themes were. And then it was very easy to click, like, I want to watch this episode. I want to watch this episode. And then at the end of the event, we put some quotes and sound bites from it. And we did a lot of social marketing. We did mail postcards. I don't think that really made much of a difference. It was, if people were watching it online, the online marketing was going to get them there. And then I did negotiate with the board. They wanted some live component. So before it would release on Wednesdays, I would go on Facebook Live and be like, tune in now, and like for like 30 seconds. And then I left. And we did hire a professional to edit all the videos that we solicited together to make it look neat, clean. And there's just skills that we don't have in-house. So just to give you like a little look into what kind of speakers and musicians we had. At the end of the event, we took clips of everyone saying thank you and put it together for a 30-second clip. So Nadella, if you could play that, you can see just who was there.
thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. God bless you all.
And it is so appreciated. I love you all.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you all so much for your support over the last 5 weeks, and don't be a stranger.
And so that was Friends on the Harbor 2020. There's, I think, one more slide. Yep, so the results is we had many more online views than we had attendees in 2019. So, and we did get a lot of smaller donations from people that we necessarily wouldn't have gotten donations from during gala season. And then we had just a lot of reusable marketing collateral. So right now, these episodes are playing on Cambridge, Brookline, and Newton Local Access TV. I had an older adult in my program called like, Nikki, you were on TV last night. And that's like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. The budget was, much less. So we paid under $10,000 for the whole event. And we're still undecided for 2021. Our event is in September. We'll probably decide in June what vaccinations look like. And if it looks like we'll be able to have a live event, we'll do that. But I think we'll still have a videographer present and put together one special episode of Friends on the Harbor to give to everyone. In the event revenue, we made more money than the year before, and it was, sponsors and donations. So that part was a lot simpler. So thank you all for listening, and that's it for me. And thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Nikki. That was terrific. And it was fun to see a little bit of the video. I've enjoyed watching the longer videos. The 4 minutes with Yo-Yo Ma is very special. Our next speaker is Betsy Kelder. Betsy, like Nikki, is in one of our nonprofit executive roundtables, and Betsy heads up Invest in Girls.
Thanks very much, Julie. And I'll put a plug in for the roundtables. They have been an invaluable resource for me now in my 3rd year of them. So if you have the opportunity to join, I would strongly recommend it. I'm the executive director of Invest in Girls. We're a program of the Council for Economic Education. We're working to usher in the first generation of financially literate girls and increase the pipeline of women interested in careers in finance and financial services. I have a staff of 5. We're part of a larger organization that's 23. Our portion is about $250,000, and about 10% of that comes from the events that we run throughout the course of the year. You can go to the next slide. So typically what we do is host 3 events in our flagship cities, Boston, Baltimore, and New York. They were all meant to happen in the late April, May timeframe. So you can imagine they did not. First, we postponed until June, and then quickly realized that that was not going to happen either, and started looking at September. When it became clear that even September was not going to be an option, we decided to combine all of the events and do one live virtual event. Typically, there's a ticket fee to attend one of the breakfasts. We have a keynote. We were supposed to have Joanne Chang from Flower Bakery in Boston this year, and we were going to have Jackie Joyner-Kersee in Baltimore and Sharon Epperson in New York. We have some girls from our program speak about their experience. I speak, the board chairs speak, and of course, there's food provided. With the shift to virtual, and you can go to the next slide. With the shift to virtual, we, similar to Nikki, opted not to have a fee for the event. We decided it was going to be without cost to log in and watch. We decided to do one combined event, which allowed us actually to have a significantly larger reach because we had folks participating from across the country. We used a platform called Demio, which it was a good platform. It was sort of glorified Zoom, You could customize the look and feel of it a little bit more, and it still had some interactive pieces. So I liked that. We pre-recorded the entire event, so it was about 40 minutes of content. It was all pre-recorded, but I was online, as was the development director, and we were chatting with people, and we had placed our staff and given them certain people to chat to say hello to, thank them for coming, etc. There's a question about how many people attended. So the Boston breakfast has about 150, New York has 100, and Baltimore is anywhere from 50 to 100. Though we were hoping with Jackie Joyner Kersey that would be a 200-person event this year. We had about 200 as part of the virtual event. Closer to 250 signed up, but we had around 200 log in, and the full video is available on our YouTube channel. So we've also had lots of folks watching it. We decided to utilize just Jackie Joyner Kersey as our speaker. She had sort of the broadest appeal. We had girls who participated. They actually had the opportunity to interview Jackie Joyner Kersey, and she asked them some questions as well. Our founder and former board chair hosted the event and did a fireside chat with Jackie, and then also did some question and answer with one of the girls from the program. And additionally, I and the board chairs had pieces in there as well. The goal was $75,000 for all three events. We raised $76,000, so we were very excited about that. Strong sponsorship. I do think that some of that was our sponsors had already committed. Some of our sponsors had already committed before we had to shift to virtual. They had committed in February, March, and they stuck with us, so that was great. But we were excited to hit that milestone, and it was a phenomenal and very well regarded event. Moved really seamlessly. I was glad that we videoed it ahead of time because we didn't have to worry about connectivity or anything like that. I actually had a speaker event in November, and my speaker disappeared for 20 minutes. So I was kind of left vamping, and it made me really glad that that had not happened the night of the fundraiser. We did also do some periodic updates, and the Demio platform allows you to populate pop-ups. So we had pop-ups to donate and quizzes, polls, and things like that as well. So it was interactive in that way, and it was all in all very successful. Our next breakfast is scheduled for November. We are going to be cautiously optimistic for a while longer that we may be able to have some group of people together. And what we're playing around with is if we can't be truly live and in person, perhaps we can do watch parties in different places. So sponsors would be able to buy a watch party and have people with them, things like that. But we were really pleased with how the event went. I think that's my last slide.
Thank you very much, Betsy. It was fun listening to you during the time you were doing all this, and it's great to have you share it with this room full of folks. We've got over 50 people in the room, so thank you all for being here. Our last formal presenter is Dawn Hayes with Dove, and very excited because they have had more experience than the rest of us, or than most of us, and you'll hear about that now. Dawn, take it away. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Julie, and I have the gray hair to prove it. Again, my name is Dawn Hayes. I'm the Director of Marketing and Philanthropy for Dove, Domestic Violence Ended. And our mission is that Dove is committed to partnering with diverse communities, families, and individuals impacted by domestic and partner violence. We promote hope, healing, safety, and social change by providing a broad range of preventative and responsive services. Our development department is small. We're a very small shop. There's 3 of us. The organization's annual budget is $2.9 million, and 13% of that comes from our events and our fundraising. So I feel like it's been quite a journey. So come along on my journey of how we learned about events the hard way. We have 2 signature events. One is Divas Dance, formerly Divas Dance, and one is Harvesting Hope. So we're just going to stay on this slide for a little bit. Originally, Divas Dance was an incredibly creative event. It was founded by one of our board members who had a 60th birthday party and said, wouldn't this be fun to have a dance party and raise money for an organization? And they decided to do it for Dove. So very unique, very uplifting. It's literally a 4 or 5 hour dance party at a lovely golf club, and lots of dancing, lots of celebration. We have usually a domestic violence speaker, a survivor. It's very hard to share our mission. What we really focus on is our stories. So we find folks who are far enough along in their healing to come and speak to the crowd. And Julie has been there, and I know a few other people in the audience today have also attended. So it's very festive, lots of heavy hors d'oeuvres. People get dressed up. It's just an amazing, the energy is fantastic. We have a raffle, we have a live auction. We usually have a host of some sort, a news anchor or something. So a very hard event to turn into a virtual event. And the particularly hard part was it's a May event. So we had just gone into lockdown. We kept pushing the date back. It was horrifying. The previous year, we raised, as you see on the slide, $164,000. That was the best year yet. We really have built this event into a powerhouse experience. And then what do we do now? So we had to pivot. I'm really blessed to have on my team a young woman who could really think outside of the box. So what I wanted to do originally was, and what we did with this is try and literally turn Divas Dance into a virtual event. So that was a mistake. I will say this. So what we did have on June 11th was, like we would normally have, a 4-hour dance party. And we hired an organization called Meeting Tomorrow, who sewed all of our videos. We had a little bit of live, we had a lot of programmatic videos. A ton of work went into creating the content for this. And it was quite ambitious. And we had a week-long virtual auction. That's something we also haven't done before. And I believe, as somebody previously said, we had people signing on to this event, sponsorships, purchasing tickets. Tickets were $75. And now we were cutting the price to $20. So we had to go back to everybody, tell them that we're going to give them 4 tickets for what they originally paid. We had to shift everything around to fit into this new box. So that was incredibly challenging. So the pluses to the virtual event piece, and let me share this, I can't wait to go back to live events. I can't stand virtual events. You just don't know what's going to happen. We were able, though, as someone else said, to reach a wider audience. So we had folks from California coming, and we had, folks from Hawaii coming. So that was a good thing. It also made having celebrity folks speak a little bit easier. So we had 3 celebrities, and I'll show you our most popular one. The Steve and Nancy Carell who are associated with board members, previous board members, were kind enough to do a little video for us that I'd like to share with you. So you can play that.
Hi, I'm Nancy Carell.
And I'm Steve Carell.
The South Shore is very near and dear to our hearts.
We both grew up in Massachusetts. Nancy grew up in Cohasset, and I grew up in Acton. And so we do have...
Cohasset's a little bit better.
we have a connection to the area. And we just wanted to lend our support to Dove and the great work that they're doing to support victims of domestic violence, especially during these times of need.
Yeah. So we hope that you will give generously to Dove tonight to continue the incredible services that they provide.
And with any luck, we'll all be together next time we have one of these fundraisers. Give generously.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
So they were kind enough to do that, and we had a couple of other folks. We had Leah Delaria, who is a great comedian, and she was on Orange is the New Black. If all of you watched it, Big Boo. She did a little piece for us, also gave us an auction item, and also Mario Cantone, who was on Sex and the City, and he also did a piece for us. So that was a good thing, and some of those things we can use again. But keep in mind, technology is tricky, and I don't want to stay on this part too long because I just have a couple of other things to add on the next couple of slides. Technology is tricky. You got to get in front of it. Meeting tomorrow, what our job was to give them all the content, give them all the videos, and they sewed it all together. And then they enhanced the Zoom platform and to stabilize it. We had a DJ, we had showed you how to do a dance routine, how to make a drink. I mean, we literally tried to turn this event into a virtual event. But you got to get them all your stuff early. You've got to do rehearsals, you have to do dry runs, you have to make sure that everything is in order, because once you go live, that's it, you're out there. We had a very active chat space because we wanted to create community. That was one thing that we found was missing that we have at the dance event, was that sense of community, seeing your friends, people going there year after year. So we had our staff get on the chat area and start working the crowd from the chat area. So we really tried some different things, but everything needs to be well in advance put together. Next slide. And it was incredibly stressful, incredibly stressful. Okay, Harvesting Hope. So Harvesting Hope is what traditionally used to be a big gala. So you had the full dinner, you had a big video that was produced, and again, another survivor speaker, and the leadership of the organization would speak, and possibly there was dancing. It's our biggest fundraiser. We raised $271,000 the previous year. And you can see how, I'm kind of jealous of the other folks who spoke because they seem to hit their goal or make more money. But we took hard hits on these. But on the other hand, our budget was a lot less. So it evened out a little bit. And I'll say, as I was saying about Divas Dance, if you're going to use a platform like Meeting Tomorrow or one of those organizations, we did a lot of shopping around. Meeting Tomorrow cost us $9,000. We took a chance on that because we had no idea if we were going to even make that. I mean, we just were putting it out there. You want to think about that. So the pluses for Harvesting Hope, which we just had, it was an 8-day event. So normally this is one night, bang, it's done. Live auction, silent auction, all of that. But we decided to stretch it out, and our events and community engagement coordinator, who's on my team, again, a young woman, thinks way outside of the box. She created a website that featured different parts of our programs each day. And then people became sponsors for a day. And at your leisure, there wasn't a ticket charge. You could go in, you could look around. And then instead of doing Meeting Tomorrow, we tried something different. We did a 25-minute live Facebook, a live feed on Facebook where we got a tour of the office and various people spoke, and we also had yet again another survivor speaker. So that actually seemed to go well, and it saved us a bit of money. But good thing is people could sign in when they wanted to. All of this content still lives on our Facebook page and on our website. So we have a YouTube channel, so our survivor stories still live on that. A negative is, a week is too long. So we decided that we're not going to do that. And I can't see the deltas underneath that. So is there any way that I could see what the other, or Julie, could you tell me what the other deltas are? It's under my screen. You're on mute.
I see 2. A week is too long and need more sense of community. Nadella, can you read out any others? Are there any others that are not shown?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really important, in my opinion, at these events to have a sense of community, to make people feel like, they're connecting with each other. Very, very important. So next slide, since we're still in COVID, and obviously it seems like we're coming out of it, but who knows if we're going to be out of it in time. It's just always a question. We're definitely going to do it virtually. And hopefully we'll be out of COVID, but we don't want to take that chance again. Because again, previously we had to push back the reservations at hotels. We sign up for hotels 2 years in advance, and we make deposits on those things. So we have to think about that so we don't lose the deposits that we've made. So this year, Divas Dance is now becoming an event called Let's Dance. It's going to be 3 days. We're going to have 2 live portions, 1 dance party, and I think we're really going to try and do it the way I originally wanted it to do, was to have people dancing at home. And like, you can scroll through this and see who else is on this call. You'd be able to see people dancing at home if they had their camera on. And it just would be, you can highlight people, and we're going to try, we're going to try that. So dance portion will include ability to see all participants. We're going to have a programmatic piece included in it that will be live. And, we are going to figure out how to keep the technical difficulties down, keep it simple, keep everything, the simpler, the better. That way you're going to have greater success. And we're going to have a suggested donation overall, but for the actual dance piece, we're going to have a ticketed price, which will be very minimal. So our goal this year, hopefully we'll raise close to what we did last year. So our goal is $100,000. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Dawn, thank you. What platform will you use for seeing everybody dance that wants to be seen? Will that be?
Well, we're going to use some form of Zoom, but we're in the process of trying to find an IT person who can make that happen. And I've been to them, so I know it can happen. We just have to find somebody on the East Coast, because I've gone to them on the West Coast, that can make it happen for us.
Perfect. Perfect. So thank you. We'd like to take questions now from everyone. We have some questions queued up in the chat. I had one overall question for each of you. Is there anything that you will be sure you keep when you go back to doing live events? What's the one most important thing you will keep? And if we could just do this round robin. So Nikki, all of the speakers, please open your mics. Nikki, Dawn, Tara, and I'm not even seeing. Where'd you go? Betsy, there you are.
I'm here.
Yeah. So Nikki?
The question was what we would keep.
What are you definitely going to keep, even when you go back to live events?
So I think when we do live events, what we decided was that, the ability to have a wider reach and to bring folks in that, aren't event donors to become event donors. So we will, if it's a purely live event or a hybrid or whatever it looks like, we will have a videographer there and, keep the Friends on the Harbor episode, the setup the way that it always was. We'll have some kind of 20-minute video, like if you weren't at the event, here's what happened, here were the speakers, here's what people had to say, have some B-roll of maybe donors that were there, and why they enjoyed it. So one, we could reuse the content and have a wider audience, and two, maybe people like, wow, that was really fun, maybe I'll go next year. So we could keep growing the event as well.
Terrific. Tara?
I think we will definitely, where we had such a larger reach to our audience, we will definitely continue a digital campaign with this type of event, even if it is a gala, because, having an event at the museum, we're limited with the amount of attendees. So we've definitely learned that the support is much further than our local area. So we will continue to digitally promote and ask for donations through those, not just directly locally.
And thank you. Betsy?
Yeah, we'll definitely keep a video component. I think that probably will record the breakfast and then make it available on our YouTube channel and our website, because that was something that people really liked, and it enabled folks from near and far to experience it. And I think if we're to do it virtually again, we will keep the vast majority of it pre-recorded, but I think we will insert some live components as well.
Thank you. And Dawn?
We're also going to keep the video component and also make them more general so that we can use them for other things, like maybe not necessarily say the event name in it so that we can use it again. And, one thing that COVID has shown us is we were trying to pivot away from dependence on events. And COVID has shown that that's a good thing. So we're going to stabilize our live events and focus on individual giving and major gifts.
That's a really good learning. There are some great questions in here. Catherine, you want to unmute speakers or read out the questions?
Yes, let me see. I'm not sure if I can easily find people. So Lauren asked, are people rethinking time/day of the week to have virtual events? And if people want to just chime in and say whether or not it was a set time before you answer that question.
I'm happy to go first. We normally do a breakfast, which is like a 7:30 a.m. start, and we toyed with a number of different options, but ultimately went with a 6 o'clock, essentially a cocktail hour, so that West Coast people could attend, and it would be towards the end of their day. We work with a lot of finance folks, so the markets were closed, and that I think was helpful. But I don't think we would do that if it wasn't a virtual setting.
And for our type of event, we found that Fridays were a good day. People are a little bit more relaxed on a Friday. And we did it during the workday because we wanted folks in front of their computer because we were sending emails throughout the day. So we wanted to make sure that, it wasn't a Saturday or a Sunday, even during COVID, they might, tune out. So we decided to do it on a Friday during the workday.
Decided on Thursday, and I think as you move towards the transition of coming out of COVID, that you have to be careful what day you do choose, because if we have nice weekends and people are all of a sudden released to go out and do whatever they want to do, you want to have it on a day where, hopefully you'll have a majority of people in one place. And for us, that's Thursdays.
Maura had a question. Did anyone have contests going on in the chat function during the event, and did that work for you?
He did not.
Okay.
Great idea.
Yeah, very good idea.
It is a great idea. Love for some of you in the audience who did events and made a pivot to raise your hand and let us know if you'd like to speak about what your event used to be and what change you made to it. Is there anybody who'd like to share their story briefly?
I'll speak briefly. I'm Samuel Bullard. I'm from the Early Learning Coalition of Orange County in Orlando, Florida. So historically, we've always done our first 5 years gala out of Epcot since 2011. And historically, we've always made around $150,000. Incorporates sponsorships, ticket sales, silent auction, and ticket of chance. I believe raffles are illegal in the state of Florida, so we call it the tickets of chance instead. Historically, they've always been in June, and in February, actually in March, we reached out to our donors and event attendees saying, our event's being postponed. So we focused on helping the child care providers and families that we served, and then we picked it back up in June to make a digital pivot. So we utilized mobile bidding platform Qtego, and we used Twitch, and we utilized those two things to do a virtual event. We used a platform called Open Broadcasting Software, which is a free software, and I really just taught myself through YouTube and videos and websites to how to utilize it, and just to try to teach myself. And we grossed $97,000, but we netted $89,000 after expenses. Like around our area, we did. We did ourselves 67% of what we did the year before. But around in our area, the average was more of 50%, which is a positive. The takeaways was maybe having like a more like a AV company to help with the technical aspect of it. I guess like having something that's more interactive, to help people get more engaged. And we're going to be doing our virtual event again, the same format this year. So possibly incorporate some type of watch party, or possibly like a dance party of sorts, like a contest, because we have a lot of kids and, people in our area, that really love children. And that's really entertaining. So it's looking for ways to utilize that.
Thank you, Samuel. And I caught that you used a mobile Bing platform. What was it called?
Qtego, Qtego.
Donna Quirk, I see you have your hand up. Let me just unmute you.
Thank you. So as somebody who sits on a few boards in Boston, I have on, and besides sitting on a few boards, I also was in nonprofits for 10 years, 3 large nonprofits in Boston. But what I wanted to offer is that I'm with yacht.me, and we are helping many organizations with their virtual events at by far 10 to 15% a cost of others of the event production, with the tech platform where we don't charge the nonprofits, but we've also been working with a white label company. So we make the whole process seamless and you don't have to give your data to YouTube or any of those others. I'd be happy if anyone wants to contact me to share some promo reels and highlight reels. For example, with Mount Sinai, we helped them bring in an event that was put together in 10 days, virtual event, 350 new donors, and raise $100,000 in just 5 days for them with Carnegie Hall musicians. It's a beautiful performance. Another one, Theo Epstein's Foundation, which was in Boston and Chicago, and hundreds of people came to watch it. They raised equal money or more than they ever had before live. And we had some great performers who wanted to go on, from James Taylor, Big Poppy, Steven Tyler. It was fabulous. But we've also worked with small places who have very small budgets, and their celebrities are their school children. So kind of one extreme to the other. So I'm Donna, Donna, at YOT.me. If any of you want to just talk and look to consider us. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
I have a question from Diana. How, if at all, did you change your messaging around your fundraising events to acknowledge the economic struggles much of the country has had this year?
So not so much in our marketing messaging, but during our episodes, when we did our call for donations, we made sure to say, any amount makes a world of difference and is really impactful for our organization. And we tried to make it welcoming for anyone of any dollar amount to donate to us, and let them know that every dollar is appreciated. And not just for the event, but we have standards in our organization that even donations of $1 get personal thank you letters.
That's a beautiful standard, Nikki, because every dollar does matter, I think, to all of us. Anyone else want to share? Tony,
I have to be honest.
On the spot.
I have to be honest that we did not really change our messaging, and some of that has to do with the vast majority of who our donors are. I would say what we changed was more around helping people understand financial literacy as a social justice issue, and the importance and the need for helping young women learn how to build generational wealth. That was much more front and center in our messaging. But the folks that we generally have as donors, we acknowledge the state of the world, and continued the messaging we always use, which is whatever you're able to provide is helpful.
And we also acknowledged, the trouble that COVID has caused and how it affects us all. But then also focused on the point that the things that keep us safe during COVID in a domestic violence situation is the worst thing possible. The isolation, the not having any place to go, not being able to be with other people. So we really didn't change it either, but we acknowledged everybody's pain during this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same here as with Nikki. We didn't really change our messaging too much, but we were appreciative for every donation. And that is why we offered 2 different type of benefit for the evening. For anyone that gave $1 or $2,500, they were all recognized and thanked. So.
I think I skipped a poll. We were going to do a poll and ask folks in the audience to answer just 2 brief questions about fundraising events. Nadella, is it too late to throw that up so that people can answer our basic question? I know we've lost 10 people already, and I'm sorry I skipped over that. So please take just a couple seconds to answer these quick questions. And while you're doing that, I'm also going to introduce my team, Catherine Cruz, who's our fantastic Director of Marketing and Communications, which she does in a whopping 20 hours a week, and Nadella Offrey, our Program and Marketing Coordinator, who supports all of our programs and is, as Catherine said, a virtuoso.
And we also have a new intern who started from Mexico, Ana Garcia, who's joining us as well.
And my mistake, I meant to introduce Ana. We also have a board member with us, Linda Vukovic, who does events, manages events when ESC does events, and we don't do them as often as many of you, although we do an annual. Linda, you could say a word about, if you want, our annual event. You're on mute.
every year we have our whole volunteer consultant group. We try to honor every year at something called the Celebration of Service. Last year we did it at the State House. It's a lovely lunch, and we give awards for outstanding consultants and outstanding consultant teams. And it's really fantastic. Last year, again, because of COVID, we did do a virtual event, and went off very, very well, but it was very basic, and I'm so proud of how we did it. But this year, I think we all want to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more entertaining. So all these ideas are just wonderful. And also, not to mention, team, Julie and everybody else, I am just so impressed on the way you can virtually, do events for all of the people that contribute to our organization. We're in a little bit of a different situation where we're an organization that helps other people. So we don't have, children or people that can come and give their stories as easily as a lot of other groups do. So we have to think of another way. But just the idea of being able to send out, 1,000, 2,000 information to people would be just wonderful, because I think that would be much easier than sending out the end of the year donation letters that people look at and kind of throw away or whatever. So that's very exciting.
Thanks, Linda. Well, you've been a terrific audience. Nadella, do you want to share the results of the poll, please? Yeah, planning for virtual, but hoping to have it in person. Thank you. Yanni Sunshine, we storyboarded our videos with narrative arc and thread that took sponsors on the journey from Cub Scout to Eagle to parent to supporter. That's fun. And more deliberate about targeting core sponsors. And how was your success at that? You want to open up your mic and share with the group?
Hi. Yeah, so we typically have a 300 to 400 person lunch gala in June, and we had to move it back to October and then December, and then we just decided to move it up to July and do it all virtual. And it went from 300,000 to 200,000, which was really good. But we just found that instead of doing the wide net approach with our committee of about 15 people, we had them focus really on 5 to 10 people who have been the most consistent and probably were in the best shape to donate, and to get that locked in as early as possible, and to really only work, have them work 3 or 5 at a time, rather than stretching it out and trying to do the 20 or 30 that they normally try to do. And it worked out really well. We just did a very basic Zoom kind of event, and we bootstrapped it all. We spent no money pretty much on the production. We did the video in-house, and I edited it with another volunteer. And we actually took the money that we would normally spend on the lunch, and we held a gratitude parade for first line employees at 2 hospitals in Rhode Island, and gave them a s'more care package with a cupcake, cookies, a candy bar, and a little give me, so that we could kind of share the love. But again, it was really all about kind of finding that the warm, joyful, uplifting piece of our mission that people can most resonate with in a time of stress, and then showing them kind of our kids and our camps, so that they really connected with where the activities happen. And we we had like 50 people watching live, so I wouldn't call it a successfully viewed live event, but what we found is that people didn't need to be present to support, and they were happy to give.
And where are you, Yanni?
I'm based in Providence, Rhode Island.
And so these scouts are in Rhode Island.
And South Coast, Massachusetts. Yep.
Thank you. Any final words? Well, I want to thank all of our speakers. This has really been an enjoyable hour. We're going to be back in touch with you. We will be sharing the resources that the panelists have used, the videographers and platforms that they use for their events. And we're going to ask you to let us know what platforms you have used. Larry, oh, you have a question? Yes, Larry, you're still on mute.
Yes, I don't have a question though. I wanted to say thank you to you, Julie, and ESC. We've had the benefit of an ESC consultant named Diane DeMarco helping out in New Hampshire at our organization, which is Southeastern New Hampshire Alcohol and Drug Abuse Services. And I'm on the board there. And this is all new to me. I'm a retired radiologist, so I can see you all well. But this is new business. I feel like I'm in kindergarten, but I'm learning. And I appreciate everybody's time and comments, and I certainly appreciate the help that ESC has provided our organization and for today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Larry. We consider ESC to be a learning community. We're learning as well. And I think our consultants, I can speak for all of them when I say that they learn as much on every project engagement, perhaps more than they're able to give. Consultants come to us because they want to share what they've learned along the way. And many of them have been in the corporate or nonprofit world as executives for decades. And so they've seen a few things, they've seen things work, they've seen things fail, and they've seen things turn around. And they have often led through those turmoils to success. So our consultants are very well positioned to help folks. And if ESC can be of service to your organization, please reach out to me, to Catherine, to Nadella, to Linda. We're ready to receive your inquiries. And we hope you will continue to do the important work that you're doing to make your communities and our greater community stronger. I'm a firm believer that if it were not for the nonprofit sector, we would be in dire straits. That the nonprofit sector is what holds community together. And for that, I'm very grateful to have worked in the nonprofit sector most of my life, as I know have many of you around this room, like Tony Troop at Jane Doe Inc. I have nothing further to add. Thanks for being with us today. Bye.